Okay, so we've waited for 5 minutes, and I think we can start with our conversation that we're having today, leading into Youth Day, with it being Youth Month. I am so grateful to be a part of the people that have been given platform to speak on this page, and I'd like to just give my thanks to Umvuzo Danster for the invite. I look forward to having the online engagement with everyone that's going to be tuned in throughout the next 45 minutes to an hour. My name is Lwazi Lwaphesheya. My surname is Khoza. I am a young woman who was born in KZN, raised in Bumalanga, um, and became an adult in Gauteng. So I think I've kind of been around um, the different parts of the country, and I've interacted with different people. I recently completed my degree at WITS. I studied a BA in international relations and media as a minor, and I am currently doing my honors now in international politics. It is mopping the floor with me, but that's okay. And I was also fortunate enough to find some form of work. I've I started volunteering at a NGO that was formed and founded by my youth pastor when I was 16, currently based in Guatemala. It was called the Tabang Foundation. And basically, what it aimed to do was get young people off the streets. And I think that's where my activism started. And I think that's where I found a great liking to assist, alleviate poverty in certain situations, and also the empowerment of young people. And I then started seeing the empowerment of young people as the gateway from poverty in a lot of situations that we had encountered back then when I was still 16. I still am very young. I'm 23 years of age. So yeah, it's been a journey. Um, I then went on and led in various positions, I guess you could call it, in high school, and then went on to university and still tried to display my kind of leadership within the various parts of the university that I found myself in. I led in the house committee, which was the greatest time of my life. And then in the year of 2017, I then started my own organization called Zambali. And what that aimed to do was basically to go around rural parts of South Africa, educating young women about menstrual hygiene. And also, where we could, we then managed to get sponsors to fund pad drives and menstrual hygiene conversations around the various parts of the country. That went on pretty well because I think it then opened room for so many other things, and that's the conversation that we'll be having today. Simply chasing opportunities. I know that the poster was written building your brand, but I said to Mvuzo that I don't think I'm a brand specialist. I think I know very little about brands, but I think I do know a lot about how to position yourself as a young person who's seeking opportunities and how to basically go around finding them. And I think that as young people, that's where we find ourselves constantly seeking opportunities. So yeah, I where am I now in my life story? I graduated. Well, was meant to graduate, didn't graduate because Corona came and became the ruler of the world. But I'm still constantly seeking the next best thing, the next opportunity to step into. And I think the starting point is you understanding what opportunity means to you. to me, opportunity means something completely different. And because Singabantu is funny, we need to realize that where someone else walks through does not necessarily mean that I'm going to get an equal or greater amount of success from their particular journey. So it all begins by identifying what your opportunities are, right? And also what it is exactly that you're seeking out of life. Because you cannot go out seeking opportunities when you don't necessarily have a set plan. And I mean, the set plan is always very fickle because I always say that lucky are those that know exactly what it is that they want to be in their lives. Some of us pedal from career paths to career paths, um, dabbling with being an entrepreneur here and there to just make a couple of cents. But if you know exactly what it is that you want, and it might not even be an indefinite want, it could be what it is that you want for that particular point in time, for that particular moment. And I think that it's very important that we start realizing how important different small moments are in our lives. um I'll, for me, I realized that my what was it the priority of my seeking. At the time, I remember, I think I started actively going out as a young person who actually wants to speak out about um, injustices that are happening in the world, and also not just speak out but contribute to the betterment of society and how society will then become structured. I then um, I- it was a very weird thing to do, but I basically was online. I created an online profile that aligned me with people who thought like me, with people who believed in what I believe in, with people who were doers like I was a doer. And for me, these particular three things were very important because it allowed for me to not only do, but also to be challenged in my thinking, right? Far too many times we think that our thinking is correct, and we think that our thinking is the be all and the end all, and sometimes we fall short because we're just constantly thinking, but we're never the ones that are listening. And so whenever you're going out into seeking something, always be aware of the fact that within your seeking, what you're seeking could actually be the wrong thing, and always be open to a different narrative or a different story being told or a different way of doing things. Because I remember when I was 20, when I registered Kazambali, I then went on, there was a competition online on Twitter, and it was a Standard Bank competition where, I don't know if I'm allowed to, anyway, Standard Bank competition where the winners were, I think Standard Bank was giving away 10,000 Rand to 16 young people on the 16th of June. And I then entered that competition, and they said, write what it is that you would do if you got this 10,000 Rand. And then you needed to get people to support that. So by retweeting and sharing and liking and engaging and I remember saying that I would take the money and just go to thingy. I'd take the money and buy sanitary wear, and then donate it to young women in various parts, in rural parts of the country. And I then won, and that was literally the change of my life. Like my life, that was my life changing moment, because from then I then began sitting around important tables. I then began having a voice. I then began being able, like, I'd then be called in to speak on menstrual hygiene in various spaces because people knew me as the pad drive girl. Um, and I mean, pads and periods are very taboo. It's strange that, well, back then was strange that someone would be so open about it, and I felt that it was very necessary because I mean I was 20 at the time. I had finished high school 2 years ago, and the one time I went to visit a school when I was still in matric, I then realized that actually I'm very privileged and other young women don't have the privileges that I do. So it takes for you to see one wrong and try and make it right for a different door to open. And yeah, that is my biggest that's the biggest opportunity that I've taken and chased. And I think as a young person, the biggest mistake that we make is seeking monetary value to things. Um, I think I can trace back to my life and all the engagements that I've had and where I am today. There's been very little money. There's actually probably been close to no one saying, here's 3 million rand, here's 20,000 rand, here's. So I don't think I've received money. I think I've received a network. I think I've received a a collective of people that I now can call for every and any reason. And I think that that's also where we need to begin assessing ourselves, right? And not only ourselves, but assessing what it is that is out there for young people. Because far too many times it's fully mali. You're applying for a grant, you're applying for this, you just want money, right? And there's absolutely nothing wrong with wanting money. But with great money comes great responsibility. And I guess maybe mina ngangisabi responsibility because I was just like, if I can get to that particular person and let them hear what I have to say, they can possibly let me speak to the next person and speak to the next person to actually get to the end goal. So it's very important that you identify as well what opportunities you are seeking. Um, are you seeking monetary opportunities? Are you seeking, do you value human relations and relationships with people? Because that's also another thing. Far too many times you want the money, but you don't necessarily care about who it could come from. You write and you submit a funding letter requesting someone to financially alleviate you, which is absolutely correct. But can we imagine a world where we didn't only write to request for funding, but we interacted with so many other people that could give us so many other opportunities without us even asking, but solely because they know who you are and because they know what you're capable of doing and they know what exactly it is that you do on a daily and what you do best. And I think that it's very important that we begin understanding the value that humans have, the value that people around us have, the value that people that we might not even know have, the value that is in different spaces that we haven't even occupied, and how to ensure that you get to those spaces so you do occupy them, so you do meet the people you actually want to meet. Um, I'll tell you a story of myself. When I got a job in 2018, I got a job at an institution that I had been stalking. I literally was on all of their social media pages. I was researching about who they were, when they were working or not working. I was there. Like I was, in Zulu we say, "Uyisicefe." I was Streife. And very randomly, the then managing director sent me an inbox on my Facebook saying, "Hi, can we meet up for coffee?" And I was like, "Okay, let's meet up for coffee." And yeah, I didn't even know that I was going for a job interview. I then interned there for close to 2 years. And when I say I grew, I really, really grew. And it taught me that money is just the tip of the iceberg. Who you know in the space that you want to play in is far more important. And I mean, for so many of us that step into I don't know how to describe it, but so many of us that step into unorthodox careers or the non-professional careers and your BAs, your creatives, your freelancers. So for us, it really is who it is that you know. And I think even those that are in corporate would vouch that knowing who's who in the zoo really, really does play to your benefits. So I think it's important that people begin aligning themselves with people that speak to their dreams, that speak to who exactly it is that they want to be. Um, because it's so important also to identify someone that when you sleep at night, you think, if I can be like that person, if I can be like that person, that matters so much more. And allow for people to bring you into their lives. I always say that I was fortunate enough that when I got to university, I was received by um, like very, very like nice and important people there. The then president, Yulo, and she then allowed for me to come into her space and to see where the terrain that she's playing in. And because she was someone that I had admired, I then obviously began to maximize whatever opportunity I then received within that space. And I then managed to make so many other friends by virtue of joining by virtue of joining student politics and becoming an activist. And just I think networking well. I think far too many times we want to become like we want to sit in the shadows of whoever it is that brought us into the various spaces that we want to exist in. But I think I always say that shame. Those that brought me in probably didn't know what a disaster of a human being I was because I would seek answers for things and I would seek for opportunities and I would constantly want to grow. And I think that that's the best thing we can ever do for ourselves. We would see when someone opens a door for you, don't just stand idle and and wait to be ushered in. Personally, I always say, well, my motto for this year was that if the door is open, ngena wind. If the door is closed, I mean, ngena wind. Um, if you don't have the strength of knocking it down, go break a window and enter that space because honestly, we're not going to wait. We're not going to be called. I always say that what makes us think that if they didn't call for us prior, now that we want to sit around those tables, they'll call for us now. They won't. No one is going to remember that there's a Smallanyana girl whose ancestors are from Singa, who is good at this, that, and the next thing. It's solely up to you to break down your own barriers, to enter into the spaces that you want to exist in. And that's where the opportunity then will just find you because you're constantly going to be opening up yourself to so much more. And you're constantly going to be studying the space that you had initially thought is one that you wanted to be in, and then you find yourself contributing to it in a very, very different space, in a very different way than what you had initially thought of. And I'll make an example of myself. When I joined student politics, I think I was very different. I was I was never the Amandla comrade. I was more the okay, what needs to be done? How can I help? Who do I help? Um, and you then realize that there is a place for everyone. Ngeke sifane sonke. And it's very important for you to be able to know and understand what it is that you're good at. Because far too many times we're going to judge ourselves as having failed in something solely because our benchmark of excellence is the next person. And you'd find that that person can't even do all the things that you can do. I then later on learned that actually I'm very good with my fingers. This device over here is like my best friend. Not really, because that's unhealthy, but I realized that I'm actually able to run a narrative online and have people listen simply because I've gone out and I've interacted with the space and I've become known in that particular space. So I think for me, it was very important to realize that, okay, I might not be the Amandla comrade. I might not be that comrade that is going to stand up on a table in a chair and try to get their point across. But I can be the comrade that is going to present everything that is happening in this particular room at that particular point in time in a good light to other people and run a narrative. And I say a good light because I think those who are in the political space would know that, yeah, it's tough. But we solely, and I think the current terrain of politics is selling perception. Um, it, I hate to say it's populist, but it does require a lot of engagement with people that are not necessarily within the space. And I then realized that I have the ability to engage with people who are not in a space that I currently belong in. So I then was fortunate enough to be able to use my fingers and monetize on that. And that then for me brought campaigns that I embarked on whilst I was in university. Um, Others paid and others didn't, but I knew that I wanted to be known for something. Because for me, I realized that being known for something actually matters more than having some form of monetary value. And a lot of the opportunities that have found me because I've been doing something in the meantime. And far too many times we don't want to do the dirty work. Everyone thinks they're gonna wake up and be Terry Peto and Connie Ferguson and those that sing think they're going to be Brenda Fassie, but the reality is that someone needs to do the dirty work, and don't be afraid of doing the dirty work. It's always the non-glorious tasks that, for me, that have gotten me to a position where I'm like, someone has identified me and said, actually, your role in this might have been insignificant to you, but you have completely changed the way in which we were thinking or the way in which things were originally done. So I think do not be shy to do the dirty work. Do not be afraid of doing the dirty work. It doesn't pay. It's horrible. Sometimes you're just like, I really don't want to be doing this. I know the beginning of the year when I was job hunting, so I didn't make it into Wits honors because of 2%. So I had an average of 62.5 and then, no, 62.6. And then I was like, okay, I missed it because the requirement was 65. And then I then needed to restructure my life. I went on and I worked for a organization that is currently based at Tema. And I worked for close to nothing. I literally it was it was close to nothing, but I didn't mind because for me it was a matter of waking up with a purpose. Far too often, whenever we're waiting on something to happen, we then neglect whatever else we could be doing at that particular time. And sometimes we think just for you to have a sense, just for you to have a sense of belonging, a sense of contribution to the world. You just need to wake up and have something that's going to wake you up, have a reason to wake up. And I always encourage people to just find a reason to wake up. If what you're seeking and what the end goal you envision has not come together, just find a reason to wake up, because then you're far more productive than what you are sleeping. And as you're awake, you then realize that there's other things that you could be doing. There's other things that you could be contributing to. And I mean, I always say I'm very thankful to my former employer, who then said, "Look, I can't give you much, but I think I need your skill. Come on board." And I then came on board. I got that, not much, but now I've left then, because life then worked out. But we still have a relationship where he then says, "There's this opportunity. I think you'd be great for it." Simply because I think he could see that I was a active and vigorous young body who constantly was on pursuit of the next best thing. And I think that it's very important that when, like, closing remarks on this point, on the point of don't be afraid of doing the dirty work, it is so important for you to just have some purpose and wake up for something, because then you're not wasting your time and you don't feel like the days are passing you by. Because far too often, as someone whose life, as someone who, I mean, I know I've had my life at standstill at some point. There were times when you felt as though the days were passing you by. A particular moment that I remember was when everyone was going back to varsity, and there I was, like, okay, Wits didn't take me. I'd gone to the campus like 3 times. They still said no. They were full. And having to wake up for something, even though it was not aligned with anything I had studied, or anything, or wherever it is I wanted to be, I woke up. And I think it's very important that we wake up. Another point about opportunities is be relentless in your pursuit for success. You're the only person who can tell yourself that you can't do it. And you're the only person who can tell yourself that you're not going to do it to a certain degree. But I always say be relentless, because I think if there's the personification of the term chance taker, I think I'd fit right in there. I really believe that life is all about taking chances. And if they don't work out, they don't work out. But if they do, at least you know that you have steered your own life in a direction that you wanted it to go. Because very frequently we sit in our own lives and we're not even our own drivers, and we're not even dictators of our own success. So be unashamed of any decision that you take, because it is a decision that is taken by you, and stand for it. I think that's the most important thing. When I changed, when I went to university, I started off by studying accounting, and I then moved and I switched to a BA. And I had lost my bursary because it was an accounting bursary. I don't know what was going to become. I didn't know where I was going to find the hundreds of thousands to pay the university, but it's a decision I had taken. And for me, what was most important was, now that I've taken the decision, I then need to back it up by seeking for opportunities that are going to make sure that that decision makes sense to me 10, 20, 15 years later. And I sit, I think, 3 years post that decision, and I'm really, really glad that I did take that decision at that particular point in time. So it's very, very important for you to pester yourself, to pester whoever else it is that you want, whoever else it is that you want to take recognition of you. And life has become so easy. Well, not necessarily become so easy, but the world of social media has given us access to so many different people, to so many different spaces, because there's some people that I speak to and I think I would never ever have access to you had it not been for social media, had it not been for the gadgets that we have. So I think it's very important that we also channel our activities online to speak to our dreams, to speak to whatever it is that we want to become. I think a lot of people who look at my Twitter will know, okay, political, okay, a little wild child. Uh, she gives her commentary openly and unashamedly. So she wants to work in the international policy space. I think these are things that you can pick up just by solely looking at one's profile. And I think it's very important that as young people we do begin profiling ourselves online. And I guess that's where building the brand comes from. Um, Profile yourself in a way that if someone stumbles across an opportunity that they think you could be fit for, it's very easy for them to say, actually, this person here is the best fit for it, because people hire people, and people give access to people. In as much as it's the most common term that is used, but your education can only get you to a certain degree. Um, the rest you actually need to hustle. For lack of a better term, I always say with myself, I think the time I spent sitting at home made me realize that once you tick one box without a plan on how to tick the next, you constantly are going to feel as though your life is stagnant and stationed, and you then need to start realigning yourself. um, I remember at the beginning of the year when I was hustling, literally hustling for a job. I think I sent my CV to 27 people, unashamedly so, because it's it's what I wanted at the time. It's where I saw myself at the time. Um, and I wouldn't have had access to the 27 people had I not positioned myself in such a way that gave me access to them. So, who you are online, who you are in person, those things really, really matter. And far too frequently, I think we take them for granted. I think we take for granted how it is that we present ourselves. But I come from a place where I am today is solely a reflection of what I've put out, and what I've come across, and obviously the chase that I have embarked on, and I've gone on to say, actually, this particular woman online is someone I'd like to align with. This particular person is someone that I would like to have some form of relation with, because it just take English. Guys, isilungu siyaphela after 4. But anyway, it just take it just takes, my goodness, it just takes one person to believe in you after you've believed in yourself for the next door to open. Um and yeah, I'm a firm believer that one opportunity leads to another. A friend of mine always says, "Uzoyithola kanjani uhleli ekhoneni," meaning nothing is going to fall on your lap unless you are born to the upper echelons of society. which I personally was not born into, and I think a majority of us weren't born into. There's absolutely nothing that's going to fall onto your lap, and it's really up to each and every one of us to go out um, and seek not only monetary benefit, but seek engagement with people that speak to who it is that you want to be, where it is that you want to go, because it's those people that are going to ensure that you get there, and it's your pursuit of those people that's also going to ensure that you get there. And lastly, I think to close it off, as you walk away from one door that has opened into a better door, or into a better opportunity, I think it's so important for us to manage and keep relationships with people, because I always say I was very fortunate that in my the most recent job that I had, the one where I said that shame, angihlupheka, ngisahlupheka namanje, but it's a bit nhlupheko. The founder and the director of the entity till today will say, "Hi Lwazi, here's an opportunity. I think you'd be best fit for this. Hi Lwazi, if you have time, could you work on this with me and I'll give you some form of remuneration." I then realized that it is so important to not burn bridges. As you walk into something better, do not forget where you come from. Do not forget who has built you. Do not forget who has molded you, because it's so important to maintain relationships with everyone that you come into contact with. Far too often, you see the one opportunity as better than the other, and then you move on to the next, completely neglecting where it is that you come from. Don't do that. Don't do that. It benefits no one, especially not yourself. Um, so yeah, as you walk out from one door to the next, walk out gracefully, but also continue managing relations nabantu, because people are everything. I think at the crux of this conversation, we can all agree that people are everything. Bazi abantu, bahloniphe abantu, uzithobe kubantu, remain humble, know who the next person is, whether they're going to contribute to your life or not. Simple respect for the next person goes a very long way. You don't know where your blessing lies. You don't know who's who. So yeah, I think that's the wrap. That's me wrapping it up. And to close, I think my parting shot is: be unashamed in your pursuit for your own dreams, because that right there is the one thing that you have control over. Align with people that speak to who and what it is that you want to become, and present yourself as that. And thank you. I think we'll have questions in the comments section for the next 10 to 15 minutes. And then if you have questions for me, I'll then just answer. If you have a comment, I'll then just read it out and we can all have a conversation about it. And yeah, from me to you, thank you very much. Your 15 minutes starts now. Okay, guys, talk. This is strange. I think my page is updating. What inspires you? Hectic. That just got deep. Okay. Um, what inspires me? I actually didn't think about that. Wow. Sunshine. Um, I think it's the ability to change someone else's life. Um, yeah. It's- that's actually a very deep question. Because you wake up every day, you don't even know why it is that you wake up. But um, I think Black women inspire me. Black women who've broken barriers inspire me. Um, because far too often we, as a Black woman, you are not brought in to sit around a table, but you are discussed on an agenda point. And for me, Black women who sit around tables, but not only Black women who sit around tables, Black women who bring other Black women in. Because I've always said we cannot want to sit around spaces that initially didn't have room for us and not want to bring people who are like us with. Because then what change are we going to bring exactly to that particular space? So what inspires me? It's Black women who've broken barriers and have brought other Black women in. And I think I'm a perfect example of such Black women. And I mean, you yourself are that Black woman. So you yourself are an inspiration. Yeah, that was actually really deep. Normally, I've always been like my mom, but yeah. Any other questions? I want to say thank you for enlightening how not to be scared of getting your dream. You made it absolutely amazing. Focus on your dreams. Thank you, Luntu. Thank you. It was tough. It still is. I think a lot of us would know that there are some degrees that when you go in to study them, your parents ask you, "Uzosebenzaphi? Who's going to hire you? What is it exactly that you are going to become?" And when you say you're studying a BA, they look at you and think, "Okay, no one is going to hire you." But it's a decision that I had taken at the time. I was young, but today I look back on it and I think probably the smartest thing I would have done. I look at people working from home during these times and I think, oh my God, I would have been behind a laptop with my eyes sore and my back aching and punching numbers. Okay, my brother's been watching the whole thing, so he does exactly that. So he sits behind a laptop and gets his back sore and punches numbers and like gets frustrated every day. I would have died. So I decided I want to work with people. I want to work in the international space. I want to work with media. I want to do the nice stuff. And it worked. So thank you, Lundu. Any other comment? Guys, please ask me stuff. It's a pleasure, guys. Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, I think this has been really, really great. I'm always very, very shy of speaking because you never know, especially online. Like, it's not like you can go somewhere and speak and let everyone forget about it. Online, it stays. So, what if I fumble? What if I make a mistake? So, thank you so much to Mvuzo for trusting me and for opening up your audience to a young lady like me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I think last question. Any takers? Okay, guys, thank you so, so much for staying tuned. I really, really hope that what I had to say does impact your life. Oh, okay, there's a question. Profile on social media. What advice can you share on that note? Okay, so for me, I'd always say that one, engage with the crowds and the audience that you want to play into. Don't waste your time online, guys. Yes, we're always there for the banter and the laughs and but really don't waste your time. More than half the time, it's not worth it. If there's negativity, don't waste your time there. If there's gossip, don't waste your time there. Um, engage in whatever it is that is going to grow you. One, two, follow people that are going to feed into who you want to be. Um, and don't just follow them and stay in the background. Follow them and engage. Follow them and comment. Follow them and speak, guys. Even if you're speaking in someone's comments and we won, like you're talking alone, one day that person will be like, actually, like, let me speak to you, let me get to know you. What is it that you have to offer? I think that's how I managed to do it. I pasted. I would write things and would think to myself, okay, somewhere someone out there is going to think this makes a whole lot of sense. And don't be shy. Don't the, the space is only what you make of it. The space is really, really what you make of it and what you give it and what you entertain on it. So when building a profile online, the best way to go about it is constantly speak about what it is that you want to be. Engage in circles that speak to where it is you see yourself. And by then you already have a pool of people surrounding you that are actually speak to what it is that you want to become. So engage positively. Don't entertain negative negative conversations. Sometimes it's hard, especially on that other bird app. But if you're there to laugh, just laugh, let things go. And yeah. Okay, wow, two questions. Yo, okay, guys. This Okay, Setu is saying, which Black woman do you look up to right now? Who you would say motivates you and why? The Black woman that I look up to right now is, okay, the very cliche one would be my mom. She is a superhero personified. But in this current context, I think looking at what's currently happening in South Africa and COVID-19 having its way with a lot of the world's plans, the Black woman that I look at and I think, yes, yes, you're it, is Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma. I think her ability to shut off negativity and just do what she was called to do is unbelievable. I always say, I think with if I was ever in that position, I'd probably like pack my bags, take a flight to Mauritius, and be there until the mess is over. But her ability to literally keep on going, for me, it's unfathomable how. But right now, I really do think that to me, she speaks and she speaks to the spirit of resilience that you need to have, especially in a society where being Black, bold, and woman is it's something that is extremely shunned upon, and you become such an easy target for anyone to say anything about. And I mean, the media has been having her for breakfast, lunch, and supper, but she's probably the most unfazed human being. She just continues doing what she needs to do, and whether niyamthanda animthandi, she doesn't care. Uh, hey, she's not. That woman knows that she's not a tub of ice cream. She's not there to make everyone smile. She's there to get the job done. Um, and yeah, I think for me right now, she's just like, yeah, she's taking it. And there was an article written about her recently, by Mondli Makanya, basically saying that she doesn't even smile. And I was like, Mondli, dude, you think that like she's meant to be friendly? No. Like she's there to do her job. She's not there to be your friend. She's not there to become, because there's this narrative and this whole image about women leaders that they're meant to be nurturing, or if not that, they are then on the world of extreme. Yay, she is doing what she needs to do to get the job done. And whether you like her or not, she's still there. And I think for me, that's that spirit of saying, Oksalayo, ukhalisa misicathulo la, unmatched. Last question. Social media, the status of living. Now, social media and people are found here. How do we have an effective use of social media? Maybe do's and don'ts of social media. I think Kada, I think I had spoken to this earlier on, Uguti. Align yourself with people that speak to who it is that you want to become, and what it is that you want to become, and then begin engaging with them, because that's where they are. If they don't know how you're thinking, if they don't know who you are, then where else are you going to find them except for on their pages, on their sites? So begin engaging with people and begin being a part of online conversations that are constructive, that address what it is that you want to particularly address, a problem or crisis that you want to particularly address, or even if it's within your field of work. Let's say you're an engineer. Join online groups that speak about the world of engineering, where it's going. Right now, post-COVID, what does it mean for the building environment, and so many other conversations. So I always say, just ngena nge windy, enter rooms and spaces through the window, and you'll find a seat, even if it's on the floor. You'll find a seat, and there's no one who can chase you out once you're inside. So just have conversations with people online that speak to who and what it is exactly that you want to be. Um, Do's and don'ts. Don'ts. I'll give you a very big don't. Um, don't engage in banter. Don't don't engage in banter. Um, I always get caught underwater on that other app because I sometimes say unpopulist things, but that's what I believe in. And oh yeah, another don't is don't allow the space to change who you are. If you are a traditionalist, uh, if you are a feminist, if you believe in certain things, give off that. Give off who you are exactly. Because far too often you engage with people online and then you meet them in person, you're like, no, actually, you're selling us a dream, you're selling a facade of who you're not. So don't be pretentious, be real. People who are going to like you and find liking to you and present themselves to you, and people who are going to present yourself to, are going to do that solely because of who exactly it is that you are and not who you pretend to be online. Yeah, I think we can wrap it up there. Guys, thank you so, so much for staying tuned. An hour is a long time, and I've been speaking for an hour. So, yeah, happy Youth Month. Stay safe, stay home. Um, if you're drinking, drink responsibly, please. What we're seeing online is really, really, really worrisome in terms of how we are conducting ourselves during this time. The virus is real. It, I don't think any one of us should go through it in order for us to begin believing that it's real. But stay safe, stay good, stay well. From me to you, thank you so much for staying tuned in. Keep well and God bless.